Hey everybody, Chef AJ here and welcome to Healthy Living. My guest today is Robert Cheeke. Robert is the best-selling author of Shredded and Vegan Bodybuilding and Fitness. He is a two-time champion bodybuilder and the founder and president of Vegan Bodybuilding and Fitness. And the website is www.veganbodybuilding.com. And welcome, Robert.
Thanks, Chef AJ. Here's my smiling thumbs up.
Look at that. And I see a nice big I like your shirt, by the way. And added to your list of impressive credentials, best-selling author, bodybuilding champion, clothing manufacturer.
Yeah, I've been doing the clothing actually since 2003 when I first started veganbodybuilding.com. So that came even before the books. But this one's brand new. It actually came out yesterday. So
well, that is a great shirt. I actually happen to have a few of the shirts that Robert sells. This is a beautiful one. It's red. And I actually altered it a little bit myself just to be a little bit sexy, if that's okay. So this is a cool one. This is a great one too, by the way.
So you've got all kinds of stuff from
That's right. But this might be my favorite because it's soft. It's really soft. It's a hoodie. And so where can people get these high quality cotton, wonderful clothing that you...
Yeah, they're all on veganbodybuilding.com. And my lovely fiance, Karen, runs that store, manages that. And in fact, she's at the post office now shipping out dozens of packages.
When she comes back, maybe she could come and say hello. That would be amazing. Ugh. Somebody wants to say hello to you. If I could just pick her up. My back went out, and I'm like, can you imagine not being able to lift a 14-pound dog? There we go. Say hi to Robert Cheeke. Hello. Yes. So that's wonderful. Congratulations on getting engaged. I'm happy about that.
Thank you.
And when are you getting married? Next year?
We don't know. The goal is before August. I proposed right before Karen's birthday. Her birthday is in early August, so our goal is within a year. So,
and what's great, I think, it's to this fairy tale romance is you guys actually met on the high seas. You met on the cruise, the Holistic Holiday at Sea cruise. And so, ladies or gentlemen, hey, there's 2,000 plant-based people every year on Sandy Pukel's cruise, and you can find love. It really was the love boat for you guys, wasn't it?
Yeah, not only for us, but for lots of people.
Right, absolutely. That'd be kind of cool if you got married on the ship, because ship captains can actually marry you.
We actually were just talking about that the other day. We're not, we don't know if family or enough family would come or whatever the case is. And so we didn't talk about that. We talked about that exact scenario, getting married on the cruise.
Is your son coming?
He'll be there for the wedding. He's not on the cruise. He's sleeping right now.
Okay, he's not a Hugh. He's a fur baby. His name is Benny, and they love him very much. You're actually the stepdad, but I hear you love him just as much as if he were your own. Yeah, Karen always tells me how wonderful. So I want to thank you for something. Well, actually, I want to thank you for two things. So you've been on the cruise probably many, many more years than I did it for the last 3 years. But the first year I did it, you literally were the first person I saw that I knew right before we were about to board. And you said something to me, it was very casual, but you don't know what an impact it had on me in the way I teach. So you had said to me, when Karen and I are on the cruise, we never take the elevator. We only take the steps. Except for the last day when we have the bags, we always take the steps. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that. Well, you didn't tell me, though, that everything was on the 14th floor and I'm on the 6th floor. That was an incredible thing because while my roommate gained 8 pounds on that cruise, I went home 3 pounds thinner. And I made a vow, even with the high heels and dresses, to never take the elevator except on the last day when I had my bags. And that really stuck with me. And that mentality of, I'm on vacation, instead of letting stuff go, make it more more challenging because of the ability to go crazy on a cruise with all that food and all that stuff. And so you made a big difference by saying that just a tiny little thing,
Oh, well, good. Well, thank you. And it's a philosophy that extends far beyond that. Of course, it's the idea of taking the opportunities that we have to make the most of our health and fitness. So, I mean, it can happen in lots of different areas. But when I am in a building, hotel, motel, on the cruise ship, office building, I really do make a point to take the stairs because it's an outstanding cardiovascular exercise, strength building as well for the lower legs and glutes, and it's just good for the heart. And I think it's, in a way, it's kind of character building because you're saying, you know what, it's a lot easier to do this, take the elevator. It's a lot it just doesn't take any effort. It's simple. That's going to do the work for me. But I really want to put in the work and ascend up there myself. I just think it's a good philosophy to have. And on a cruise,
makes a difference.
It really comes in handy. There's unlimited food.
Yeah.
Most of the food is healthy
right.
on the cruise. But you're right. You're sometimes going down deck 5 for dinner and deck 18 for a sports deck or a pool deck. It's a lot of stairs.
And when you do it over 8 days, that's a lot of walking. And it really does add up. And you were on my television show, Healthy Living with Chef AJ. Great episode, guys, by the way, if you'd like to watch, Robert. But we had a guest named Dr. Ellsworth Wareham, and he talked about studies showing that people that live in houses with steps, they do better because you're getting this built-in exercise that you normally wouldn't get. So that was very helpful. The other thing I want to thank you for is just what you do because, I just came back from Atlanta and it was the first time I met the 300-pound vegan David Carter. And if it wasn't for people like you and him and Derek Treesize and Matt Frazier and Rip Esselstyn and John Pierre, the manly men, I can't reach those people. I'm not going to get a hulky guy go vegan, which is, in the past considered something kind of more feminine to do, just because I say so, because it's good for the planet, the animals, and the health. But when they see that you not only can be healthy, but be fit and be muscular, that says something. And that's going to attract people that I would never be able to reach.
Yeah, and I think in my case, I think you know my background, but I have an interesting story.
Yeah, tell your story, because not everybody watching will know your story, because you weren't always this size. You were a little guy.
I'm 200 pounds these days.
Oh my God! I once weighed 200 pounds, but I did not look like that.
So I'm 200 pounds exactly. I mean, I weighed myself today. I was 204 a few days ago after a big meal. So I've been legitimately 200 pounds for a full year now. But when I became vegan, I only weighed 120 pounds. I was a skinny kid. I was 15
That's what
years
I weigh now.
I was a 5-sport athlete in high school. I got into animal rights as a teenager, became outspoken vegan. I actually was able to create a significant amount of change, even in high school. I haven't talked about this a lot, but I was even able to get our PE teacher and coaches to order synthetic leather equipment, synthetic leather footballs, basketballs, all this other equipment that was typically leather or very popular to be leather, like footballs, for example. But back in the mid-'90s, before the internet, I became vegan, and I really wasn't sure if I could get bigger and stronger, because as a 5-sport athlete, I wanted to perform at a high level. I wanted to go on and hopefully play a sport in college and see what I could do. And I wasn't sure that I could, but I embraced a vegan lifestyle. And to be honest, I struggled a little bit at first because I was 15 years old. I didn't have a lot of my own money. I didn't know what I was supposed to eat. I just knew what I wasn't supposed to eat. And so my diet turned out to be fairly poor for a while. I mean, we're talking cereal and soy milk, bread rolls, chips and salsa, bagels, vegan candy, soda, spaghetti with peanut butter, soy ice cream.
Wait, spaghetti with peanut butter, like together? Or
that was way before I even knew about pad thai or
that's funny.
Peanut butter on spaghetti.
Oh my gosh.
Genius, right?
Yeah, it sounds delicious. I wouldn't eat it, but it sounds amazing.
Yeah, the innovation is incredible. I mean, just wheat noodles and peanut butter. It melts a little bit.
That's hilarious.
So that's what I did for a little while, and then finally I realized, and that's what I speak about a lot these days, that I really just needed to eat real food.
Yeah.
So once I started to incorporate more whole foods, fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, seeds, legumes, then I could start to see some changes. I actually did go on to do a sport in college. It was long distance running, so I was still a pretty skinny guy, and I did that for 1 year, 1 season, and then I checked in right here. What do I really want to do? Like, what really drives me? What's my real passion? And at the time, I just wanted to be bigger and stronger. I wanted to get into actually pro wrestling at the time, but I knew I needed to do something different. So I eventually discovered the sport of bodybuilding. I didn't know what it was. I knew about lifting weights, but I didn't know about all the posing and wearing the little posing trunks and going up on stage. Yeah.
That's what's this called? This is just so funny to me. It's just
that's just well, Arnold has a pose that's kind of like that. He has a certain pose, and I don't know that some of these are more boutique type poses, if you will. They're not the standard poses. There's a victory pose, arms above head. You can't really see it, but your forearm like that, and
wow.
There are standard poses, 8 required poses, lat spread and things like that.
That's amazing.
Front, side, side chest, these different types of
That's
poses.
crazy.
But then there's lots of the creative ones that you'll see that are more artistic. But anyway, that's when I first got into bodybuilding. I discovered weight training, got into bodybuilding, and as you mentioned, went on to win multiple bodybuilding competitions. This was as a vegan in my early 20s. This was not really heard of much around general public, mass media, North America. There were a couple vegan bodybuilders out there, one in Germany, one in the UK, one in California. But winning those competitions and really building veganbodybuilding.com and sharing those testimonials was an outlet and a platform for me to spread a compassionate vegan message in the sport of bodybuilding.
That's amazing, because what I love about your story, and this isn't to take anything away from anybody that becomes vegan at any time, but your body really was built on plants. A lot of people already got the big muscles and then they go vegan, but you actually did it from the ground up, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't take anything away from any of those guys. A lot of people are brand new to it. They discovered it, which is great, from the work that a lot of us have done. There's an entire generation. There's people who are twice my size. I mean, you mentioned David Carter. He's 300-pound vegan. I'm 200-pound vegan, so he's got me by 100 pounds. But he's a big NFL guy.
Right.
I'm a skinny farm kid. So we all come from different backgrounds, and many people have far surpassed what I ever did or the physique I built. Guys like Derek Treesize, Torrey Washington, Fraser Bailey, many others.
Unbelievable, their physiques.
But I do recognize that I do have that story of 120 pounds to 205 pounds, all built by plants. And that does tell a story. It does resonate with a certain audience, because they can't say, oh, this guy was a champion bodybuilder first, or he was big first, or he was muscular first. This was a process over the course of 20 years of learning, applying myself, working hard, having a destination in mind, following a passion, and working hard to achieve it.
Yeah. Well, what inspired you at the age of 15 to be a vegan, even for ethical reasons? Did you go to a protest? Did you read a book? I mean, there wasn't I don't even know if there was a movie about that back then.
Yeah, I was in 4-H. I raised animals. I grew up on a farm. So I raised animals. I would show them at the fair, the county fair. I had rabbits and chickens and some large animals like dairy cows. And so I was involved in 4-H, getting very close to animals. They're very, very tame. They're much like
Bailey,
dogs have on your lap. They're very trusting. And typically at the end of the week in the 4-H program of the county fair, you sell the animals at the auction. And this is a great opportunity for a young kid to make some money. So it's a very exciting time for a young kid. You're usually, I think, between the ages of 10 and 18 in 4-H, something like 4th grade to 12th grade. And it's exciting to be able to sell 4 chickens or 6 chickens at a time, or rabbits or a cow, and you get money per pound. And so that is what we did. As soon as I realized where my friends were likely going, they weren't going to a happy place. I had a small family farm, 20 acres, animals that had first names, turkeys, chickens, goats, etc., horses, ponies. Once I figured out that my friends, these companion animals, these 4-H animals that won ribbons for me, spent quality time with me on a weekly basis, learning how to show their wings and knowing all about their, reproductive system and their breeds and all this type of stuff, that didn't sit well with me. And my older sister became vegan first, and she became a tremendous role model. She organized an animal rights week for our high school in an agriculture community in
was this in Oregon? Was this in Oregon that you grew up?
Yeah, Corvallis, Oregon, agriculture community in Western Oregon. She organized an animal rights week at our high school. And so I decided, just out of respect for my sister, that I would attend. I was going actually to sandwich shops, fast food places every day before that with my friends. Actually, 2 friends I'm still friends with today, 20 years later. We're still very good friends with these 2 guys. The 3 of us would go out, eat all this food. And I told them, I said, guys, Dave and Jordan, just for this week, I'm going to become vegetarian, whatever that is. I already had some of those inklings and instincts from my experience of the 4-H program that maybe I should give animals a chance. And so I went and I attended this Animal Rights Week. My sister brought in speakers. I have no idea who they are. I don't remember, 20 years. Who knows? And she showed videos, PETA videos of factory farming and animal testing. And it was right then, it was that first day, December 8th, 1995, that I said, you know what? I'm going to become vegan. for good, because now I've been exposed to this kind of stuff. What I tell people is that it was an experience where I was able to witness large-scale animal production, as well as animal testing and seeing animals held back and things put in their eyes and all kinds of unpleasant things. And I was able to read literature, brochures, black and white back then, for the most part, black and white brochures, and listen to speakers, but also very importantly, I was able to talk to people. I was able to have conversations with some other progressive people in the mid-90s in an agriculture community who were also considering getting into animal rights and becoming vegan. And so I did. And yes, I eventually did some protests for when the circus came to town, when the clear cutting of old growth forest was going on in Oregon. And 2 years later, as a senior in high school, I was organizing the Animal Rights Week. And so I was going around with my video camera. I had a camcorder back then that I spent $800 on. I saved it up because I wanted to win America's Funniest Home Videos and bring home the $10,000 prize.
That's funny.
And so I had a camcorder and my squeaky high school voice, and I was interviewing people about animal rights and what they thought about it. I gave presentations in school, wrote papers, and gave presentations in front of the class about animal rights and had discussions. So I really came from an animal rights activist as a young teenager, turned eventually competitive bodybuilder, something I never really saw coming. And then years down the road, I started getting more into the health aspect. I'm just as much of an animal rights guy as I've always been, and that's my background, that's my foundation. But I was eating as many as 18 tofu hot dogs in a day as a bodybuilder. I was eating 5,000 calories, tons of processed foods, and that's when I had built a brand, Vegan Bodybuilding and Fitness, that was quite large, and I received a phone call. I was actually at Karen's house. We were just kind of getting to know each other after we meeting on the cruise, and I got a call from Brian Wendell, the producer of Forks Over Knives, and said, "Hey, would you like to come work with us?" And I was bouncing around. I wasn't really, I think I was living with my mom in Oregon at the time, and I said, I thought about it. I said, "Sure, I'll come down there to Santa Monica." I started working with Forks Over Knives, and before I knew it, I was running grassroots campaigns. I was introducing Dr. Campbell, Dr. Esselstyn, and others on tour. I was touring with them in some cases. And that's when I got exposed to more of a whole food lifestyle. And I was still using a bunch of sports supplements back then, because I used a lot during my bodybuilding days. If it was vegan, I took it. Protein powders, meal replacements, bars, essential fatty acids, branched chain amino acids, whatever I get my hands on. And they started teasing me in the office. Why are you doing all this stuff? And that's when I enrolled in Dr. Campbell's plant-based nutrition course through eCornell, and that was a life-changing experience for me. I went on to write my second book, Shred It, and I was able to get Dr. Campbell to endorse it, Dr. Esselstyn to endorse it, Brian from Forks Over Knives to endorse it, Rip Esselstyn to endorse it, and many others like Rich Roll and a lot of people in our community. And that's what set off this new focus on the health aspect while still maintaining my animal rights roots.
Right. Can you show your books, by the way? Because I have them on Kindle, so if I show them, this is what it looks like.
See it there?
Yep.
This is the latest one.
That's beautiful.
And to be honest, I don't really promote my vegan bodybuilding one much anymore. Really all, because it's full of supplement recommendations, heavily processed foods. And because my philosophy has changed so much, this is the book that I highly recommend. I mean, it's completely whole food, unrefined, natural ingredients for recipes, of which there are many of, meal plans, and no supplements whatsoever except for vitamin B12, which is mentioned in the nutrition chapter. So this is my Shred It book. I also have this, which I actually really use. In fact, mine's on the ground right there. My Shred It training journal. This is
that's one of the things I learned from your book that was very similar. When I run the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, we recommend that people keep food journals, and you recommend that when you're training to keep an exercise journal. I thought that was really helpful. Yeah,
this is full of blank pages with a bunch of information up front. So, the big whys, why a plant-based diet for athletes, and then answering important questions, because I think it's really important. What goal do you want to achieve? Be as detailed as possible. Most people, you may know this, Chef AJ, January 17th is the most common day that people pick up on New Year's resolutions.
Right.
Most people have goals, but they don't mean a whole lot. They don't have a lot of deep meaning behind them, and so they're easy to give up on. They're easy to quit. But so I make people in paragraph form, or at least in a few sentences, describe what it means to you. How are you going to measure your accountability? What timeline are you setting for your goals? What actions will you take every day to get closer to achieving your goal? This kind of stuff gets you started, and then there's charts and info. There's progress reports throughout. You can see I happen to have it here, mine, because I've
you actually use it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was recording all of my workouts. So this is earlier this week or this month. These are all my.
That's amazing.
All my workouts.
How many hours a day do you work out?
What's that?
How many hours a day do you actually spend working out?
Funny you ask. I'm actually doing something, and this wasn't set up, by the way. You don't even know what I'm going to say.
No, I don't.
I'm actually doing something called the November Project, where I'm documenting every meal, every workout, even my sleep, all of my fluid intake, and a few other factors for the entire month of November.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually pulled up a photo I took of my summaries. So last week, November 1st through the 7th, my average time spent exercising was 2 hours and 15 minutes per day. Okay. Total of 15 hours, 48 minutes for the week. There's I have it online too, but
wow.
It's a full summary that even has my calories consumed, average calories per day, percentage of carbohydrates, protein, fat, how many ounces of water, total calories expended, my net intake versus expenditure per day, and then I just finished week 2, which I'm summarizing right now. I'm on page 16.
Are you blogging this? Can people see this? Because this sounds pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah, no, it's totally free. I send out a newsletter.
How can people sign up for that if they want to find out?
On veganbodybuilding.com. Right. And so I'm sending out a weekly recap. It takes me hours. I mean, to document everything, to type it up, to do all the calculations, to do the averages and everything else. I was actually just doing it right before hopping on this call because I have to send out a newsletter relatively soon. But even if people are listening later on, I'll be sending these out weekly for the entire month of November, and they just point to a brand new website that Karen made for me at robertcheeke.net, I believe. robertcheeke.net. You click the blog and it's right there. They're just static there. But the newsletter reminds you that there's a new week to go check out.
And so Cheeke has an E. It's Cheeke. I always want to say cheeky. Exactly. I know it's not, but yeah.
Yeah, robertcheeke.net. There's not much else on the website. There's not even a about page or home page yet, I don't think. But there is a link for the blog because it's brand new. Mm-hmm. It's a new thing I'm doing where my goal is to be totally transparent, to let people know exactly what I'm doing every day as far as meals and workouts. And the reason for that is because I believe that most people really don't have an accurate awareness of what they're doing on a daily basis. We say, oh, yeah, I work out all the time. But we forget about Fridays and weekends and parties and sick days and travel days and holidays and anniversaries and days we don't feel like it, days of high stress, days we're out of town. Mm-hmm. And this is really the thesis of what I write about. There's a reason why I was able to go from 120 pounds to more than 200 pounds. Even though I didn't have the genetic makeup, I was always skinny. It wasn't really in the cards for me. There was a reason why I was able to write books and sell tens of thousands of copies. There was a reason why I've been able to do these different things, land all these magazine covers. Yeah,
that's wonderful. That's Karen. That's Mindy Collette right there in the holding the red ball and then holding the basket is his lovely fiancée, Karen. That's a great photo, by the way. And even, I just got this month's one. And who was in it? Robert Cheeke, of course. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and so, but my point is that I really don't believe most people have an awareness of what they're really doing. Is, oh yeah, I'm a big eater.
Yeah, I eat pretty healthy, and then I hear that a lot. I eat pretty healthy.
Muscle, but I'm a big eater, or I work out all the time, but how come I'm not able to burn fat? Or I eat mostly raw. These kind of things. These aren't really accurate statements. Or I get plenty of sleep. These are estimations, and until we have, I think, some sort of documentation over a period of time, we don't really know what we're really doing. Mm-hmm. So what I'm not doing is suggesting that everyone document everything they do for the rest of their lives. But what I'm saying is, try it for a week or two. Mm-hmm. You'll be absolutely surprised. What you may discover is that, wow, I've been vegan for 10 years, yet I don't eat any salads at all.
Yeah, exactly.
No idea how much chocolate I eat. Or I had no idea that I have a vegan ice cream every night. Or that I eat this many bananas or avocados, or that I omit this entire group of food like leafy green vegetables, which there are plenty of vegans who do
that don't eat any vegetables. You're right, because when you write it down, you're accountable. Because when you know you have to write it down, you're going to have to think about it.
Right, and our bodies are mostly made up of water. I mean, 70% water. That's our brain, our muscles, our bodies as a whole. Yet, how much water do we drink? For some people, it may be very, very little. And we don't know unless we document it. And what I found is that I was drinking, 477 ounces, I think is what it was.
That's a lot, isn't it?
For the week.
For the week. I thought for the day. I'm like, wow, you're being all the time.
Yeah, that'd be about 4 gallons or something. Or whatever, something a little over 4 gallons.
That's hilarious.
So I'm consuming about 68 ounces a day, a little more than half a gallon of just water. There is some coconut water in addition to that. And that's really about the only other liquid. A little bit of tea, actually.
Yeah, but when you're eating that many fruits and vegetables, you don't need as much water.
Absolutely, and I'm eating a lot of fruits and vegetables.
So I'd love to look at that page, but since I'm talking to you, I can't do it right now. Just an idea of what does one day of food look like for Robert Cheeke?
Give me 1 second. It's right here, a clipboard. Which let's see. I mean, these are.
You are, I think if you weren't a vegan bodybuilder, an educator, an author, I think you'd be an engineer, Robert.
I handwrite all of this stuff and then type it up later. So this is the last week's worth of meals. Every day is going to be different, but let's just start. I mean, again, I'm being totally transparent. So let's just start on this day right here. This happens to be election day, so I was throwing awry a little bit. But I started my day. I had slept 9 hours the night before, and I started my day with water first. Only 3 ounces on this particular day. I start every day with water, by the way. That's a new thing that I'm trying to do, is start every day with water before anything else. So in the morning, I had 3 ounces of water, followed by 4 ounces of yerba mate tea. I went for a 25-minute dog walk. Came back, had 16 ounces of water. I had an apple, 2 oranges, 4 mandarin oranges. It is at 12:20 p.m. at this point. At 1:14, I had a banana, a handful of almonds, a bowl of very delicious potato and kale vegetable soup that Karen made. At 2:15, I had 16 ounces of yerba mate tea. I'm trying to cut down on that, actually.
Okay.
Which I blog about and talk openly about. That's one thing I want to reduce. I had some more almonds. I had 2 carrots, banana, 17.5 ounces of coconut water. And now going on earlier in the evening, right before a workout, I had apple, banana, another handful of almonds, a plate of polenta loaf, which Karen also made, with polenta, brown rice, beans, olives.
So where are the vegetables? I'm seeing a lot of fruit and a lot of starch. I'm not seeing a lot of vegetables.
And on this particular day, right?
Right, that particular day.
Right, and that's the thing that's important, is that things compound, that one day may not be representation of the whole week, for example. Later on the evening, polenta dish again with avocado and orange and persimmon. Let's take the very next day. I slept 6 hours and 45 minutes. Didn't get a lot of sleep that night after the election. I was up till 2:30 in the morning, so I slept 2:30 to 9:15. Started the day with 4 ounces of water. I went on the Stairmaster for 47 minutes. That's the revolving stairs. It's a great fasted cardio in the morning. And got pretty thirsty, of course, so I had another 20 ounces of water, 17.5 ounces of coconut water, 5 mandarin oranges, 16 ounces yerba mate, 10 pieces of vegetable sushi, just carrots, avocado, rice, cucumber, seaweed, another handful of almonds, which I never had the first week at all. I just bought this bag of raw almonds, and now it shows up in consecutive days.
Well, it didn't show up before you bought it. Interesting.
Nope, it wasn't there. And then a bowl of mango chunks, a dog walk for 45 minutes. Good job, Benny. 2 homemade vegan burritos that Karen made with avocado, salsa verde, 8 ounces sparkling water, 8 ounces of water, 3 servings of applesauce. This is before a workout, I think. A bowl of blueberries, banana, 3 ounces sparkling water, a workout, and then another 22 minutes on the stairs, 40 ounces of water, 2 handfuls of mixed nuts, bowl of strawberries, cantaloupe, blueberries, red grapes, pineapple, 2 bowls of potato and kale vegetable soup. So
and I'm still not seeing salads and vegetables.
Right, not those days, not those days. But I have, okay, Here it is. Here's the very next day.
All right, there better be some vegetables here. We're going to keep doing this until I get to my vegetables.
Yeah, it's going to be like December 7th or something.
Yeah.
I slept 7 hours, 8 ounces of sparkling water, 4 ounces yerba mate tea upon waking. Here it is. Big bowl of salad. I went to, I was meeting with a book editor.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a new book I'm working on. And we met at Sweet Tomatoes, which is
it's a salad bar restaurant, sure.
Right, I'd only been twice ever.
It's great.
So we didn't get the typical bowl. My editor is someone who goes there on a regular basis, so she grabbed this big, almost like a serving container.
Yeah.
It's one of their serving containers. It's a big metal bowl. So I had a giant bowl of salad with sweet potato, a baked potato, potato salad. And then took a little break, we're business meeting.
Yeah.
And then I had a bowl of orange slices, so I get some fruit there, and water, and a little bit more salad. And then I went on to the rest of the day with grapes, mandarin orange, a couple homemade vegan burritos with guacamole and pepperoncinis, grapes, blueberries, sparkling water. Those types of things. Yeah. The next day gets into brown rice and beans and
I was just teasing you about the vegetables. You have a terrific diet. It's all whole food, plant based. I don't see any oil there, any flour, any sugar, anything bad.
And the next day, the next day gets more into broccoli, cauliflower, zucchini, carrots, numerous bowls of potatoes. Because again, Karen boiled a whole bunch of potatoes in bulk quantity. So, and that's one of the things that I write about. I have notes at the end of every day as well. So I talk about these notes that when there's something available in the house, like Karen made these probably a dozen homemade burritos, put them in the freezer. So that fills up a lot of my time because it's there. I don't have to go buy anything. I don't have to spend the money. It's practical. I work from home. And then when I go out, I tend to do some of these things, like where I get the vegetable sushi, I get the salads, I get the potato dishes and things like that. And so we're really a kind of a product, I think, of our environment. And so when Karen made a big bowl of potatoes, now you start seeing for days
potatoes.
Here's 2 bowls of potatoes on this day. And I mean, I started my day with potatoes, and then I had potatoes for lunch, as well as with some organic tofu, broccoli, cauliflower, carrot, zucchini. So some days are a little bit short on green vegetables. I'm aware of that. And this is my second week. The first week in the program, which is already, it's not really a program, it's just me transparently documenting my daily life. My first week's already there, the robertcheeke.net, where I went to the store and I made a point to eat salad essentially every day. And that probably ran its course for a week. And then I started focusing on the heavier stuff because I thought, you know what? I'm back to lifting some heavy weights after some lower back issues, which I talk about in this as well. I tore a disc in my lower back.
That hurts.
In May. I took months off from exercise, period. I haven't done free weight exercises in 6 months. I've been doing machines and cables only. And so I talk openly about getting back into lifting heavy weights. And I tend to, on those days that I lift heavy weights, I tend to eat heavier things like potatoes and brown rice and beans and these heavy soups that are with potatoes and vegetables, and I'm just transparent about that, and I talk about some of my shortcomings where there are days that I absolutely planned to go to the gym, but I didn't do it because I had guests in town from Canada or from California, and I was entertaining them. Or we went down and worked at a vegan festival last weekend. That was on my routine November project. And typically, those are days I don't eat a whole lot. I'm busy at the booth signing books and doing my thumbs up, smiling photos.
Again, I like that.
And, that throws a wrench in my schedule. I had to drive 4 hours that day, 2 hours down to Tucson, 2 hours back. So, but this is life. And that's what I talk about, is that we have these specific goals and objectives. And many of us, even well-meaning people, even people like me who I write books about this. I've been a competitor in all these sports, and I've won endurance races and bodybuilding competitions. Even I fall short a lot of times with my workouts. And for one reason or another, I was out too late. The gym closed too early on a weekend. My timing wasn't right. I had to spend 10 hours writing up a 25-page weekly recap over the course of 2 days, and that cut into my schedule. But that's real life for a lot of people. People have families, they have kids, they have school, they have work. They don't even have a lot of the flexibility that I have working from home, where I can do all this kind of stuff. I'm home, hop on a call with you. I've got food, banana right here. It's right here. I've got dishes on the floor from earlier.
That's hilarious. You mentioned you're working on a third book. What is the topic of the third book?
Yeah, very similar to my first books, so my first book's vegan bodybuilding and fitness, but really focused on bodybuilding. My second book, Shred It, which, by the way, can I say this? Karen put this on a Post-it note.
Sure, you can say anything you want. For
Chef AJ's followers, we have a discount code.
Nice.
UWL20.
Thank you.
Yeah, she wrote that.
Oh my God! Thank you, Karen. All orders in the store, you guys. That's fantastic. Because I'm telling you, get yourself this. This is a nice. I get a lot of compliments when I wear this hoodie. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was on everything. So yeah, it's beyond, I guess, just the books, but I guess it's everything in the store.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Karen. We appreciate that. I'll post it again in the UWL page. That's wonderful.
She was just taking off, and I was showering quickly, and she yelled something like, UWL 20 code. I said, just write it down. Put it on the computer.
That's funny. That's wonderful.
So to finish my thought, the second book, Shred It, is for anybody who wants to learn how to build muscle and burn fat on a whole food plant-based diet. And my third book I'm working on is called Plant-Based Muscle, and I'm co-authoring that with my training partner, Vanessa Espinoza, who is the strongest person I know.
Wow.
Man or woman, pound for pound. She's about 5 feet tall, 125 pounds, and covered in muscle. She bench presses well over 200 pounds, uses 100-pound dumbbells in each hand for pressing. She was an All-American athlete in high school, recruited to play college basketball, and played for one of the top 10 teams in the nation. She went on to be drafted by the WNBA.
Wow.
She then got into boxing and was a 3-time state Golden Gloves boxing champion for the state of Colorado, and she's been a personal trainer for the last 8 or 9 years, and she is about to start her 14th or 15th year as a vegan athlete. And so combined, we have more than 35 years experience as vegan athletes, and she is a successful personal trainer, amazing strength, and we are writing a book together that is this one is really focused on the exercises. It's one of the subtitles is demonstrations, something along the lines of demonstrations of more than 200 different exercises. So this one's very visual.
That's amazing. I've never heard of her. Maybe I'll interview her. She sounds amazing.
Vanessa Espinoza.
I don't know why I haven't heard of her, but I love what you guys are doing. Why?
I have a mock-up of the book cover, but I don't know where it is in my office right now, and so I'll just have to. All
right.
Show you another time. I might be able to find it, but maybe I'll do that later.
Why do you think it's so hard for the muscly guys, to embrace this? Because you would think that they would just want to know your story, that they don't have to keep eating gobs and gobs of animal protein and protein in general to be fit and to be muscular. Where did that even start?
So I think a couple different things. I think it partly started with the supplement industry that Dr. Campbell describes as something that came along, I believe, in the 60s or 70s, where whey and casein protein were byproducts of the dairy industry, and they could repackage this and sell this and make lots of money. And so the way it works, for those who are unfamiliar with the sport of bodybuilding, is basically bodybuilders are paid usually or given free promotion and exposure in advertisements and websites and billboards and banners and commercials and all this, and or compensated. Some compensated quite a bit, even 7-figure contracts for the best. Bodybuilders represent these various nutrition products, supplements, protein powders, etc. Some may not even use these products, but they are, and many of them use anabolic drugs, steroids, especially in the big leagues of bodybuilding. And I've been around this for 20 years. I know it very, very well. I've met Arnold a bunch of times. I know most of the guys in men and women in the industry, having been there for so long. The way it works is these athletes represent these supplement brands And then for the millions of fans out there that look up to these physiques, which are in most cases unattainable for the average person because they have incredible genetics, they're on anabolic drugs of many different types, and they're the best in the world at what they do. Those people, like myself when I was young, would go try to buy those products. Even the vegan ones, there's plenty of vegan ones. So even back then, when I first got into bodybuilding, there are very few vegan supplement companies or brands, but I could still find stuff to use because I was inspired by the champion bodybuilders who were downing 4 to 6 protein drinks a day. So this is a cycle that the supplement industry sustains itself from having celebrity or incredibly fit men and women represent their brands. And then the fans go out and buy all these products, and those companies grow and grow and grow. And then they develop more and more products. So you have something like a protein powder. Well, what about a pre-workout? You need energy, right? Before you go to the gym, you need to take this thing that's going to make you all energized. And then what happens after workout? Well, you need to recover, rebuild, and replenish muscle tissue, which food and water do just fine. Right. In fact, they do quite well. But now you need to have some special powder or potion or product to recover from that. And what happens if your joints get sore from lifting weights? Well, then we've got something for that. And what happens if, God forbid, you go to sleep? You can't not allow your body to build muscle while you sleep. So that's why people drink casein protein. It's really slow-releasing protein that helps you build muscle, recover muscle while you sleep. Some even wake up in the middle of the night to do a protein drink and go back to bed. Oh, my gosh. And so now this is this multi-billion-dollar industry, the supplement industry. And so when you've had decades after decades of people representing the fit, muscular, successful strength lifestyle, men and women, and this is what they're drinking and this is what they're taking, you want to do it too. And that is why it's so hard to give it up. And let me tell you something, Chef AJ, one thing that kind of bothers me, and I'm not even exactly sure how to overcome this, though I try, is that there are even people, and plenty even within the vegan fitness world too, who still believe they need to consume protein powders. Yeah. And they're unwilling to try to give that up. They feel like it is it's like a safety net. It's a reassurance that what would happen if I stop. And the thing is, and this is worth noting, because I've had this conversation many times recently, I said it on stage last week in Arizona, is that we're talking about weekend warriors here. We're not talking about people who are representing their nation at the Olympics or have 7-figure contracts. What would happen if you stop taking protein drinks for a week or a month? And what if you lost 1 pound? What if you lost a pound of muscle? Is that the end of the world? Are you representing your great nation and at the world's largest stage? No, you don't want your shirt to be any less tight on the sleeve. It becomes an egocentric, self-fulfilling thing that doesn't even make sense. And the reason I say that is because I came from that mentality too. I was drinking 4 to 6 protein drinks a day. I took Dr. Campbell's course, and I wrote articles challenging his approach. I said, no, I don't know if this skinny 80-year-old doctor knows what it's like to lift hundreds of pounds like I do. And I challenged it. And I said, you know what? I owe Dr. Campbell and the science one thing, and that's to give it a try for myself. And I did. Mm-hmm. And guess what? When I was drinking protein drinks and tons of processed foods, packages of flavored tofu, bologna, whatever, pepperoni, just ripping the plastic off and gnawing on it, getting as many calories as I could. I weighed at most 195 pounds during my competitive bodybuilding days. I stopped all that in 2012, and I've been as high as 205 pounds, 10 pounds bigger than I ever was, downing protein like crazy. And you know what? Let me read this to you. Mm-hmm. Let me look at my averages again. My average protein consumption for week 1 was 10% of my calories. Mm-hmm. This is insanely low for bodybuilders, yet I've absolutely maintained my 200-pound frame. I actually got even stronger on certain lifts as I make my way back, recovering from this injury. And this is precisely the number, roughly 10% of calories from protein that Dr. Campbell and others talk about. And for some reason, so many people are unwilling to break up with their protein powder. Yeah. Even if they're already plant-based, they're already on board. They get the feeling that they hear enough people like me and you and Will Tucker and a few others who are out there who are saying you don't need all this extra protein. They hear it, but they're just not willing to try it.
Yeah, they don't believe it.
And I'm not exactly sure how to effectively communicate that to people, because it's something you kind of have to experience for yourself to find out how it works, and that you still can maintain these fitness goals and build muscle and even be bigger and stronger than you ever were, which is the case for me. Yeah. Even though casually lifting weights when I was hardcore competitor before, and I'm bigger and stronger now. So, and I'm not getting any younger either, so it's hard to.
Well, you know what I'm thinking, Robert, is, being vegan for 40 years, the question that you hear the most is where you get your protein. I think from now on, I'm just going to carry your picture and I'm going to say, same place Robert Cheeke gets his, I was noticing there's an ad in this magazine that says, now there is a fitness book specifically for vegans, and it's your book.
Yeah,
cool.
It's kind of a vintage throwback to my first book. I was the first cover model for Vegan Health and Fitness magazine, their very first issue. I don't have that one with me, but these were later issues, these other two. Yeah. But I was also on the first cover, and so occasionally they do that throwback ad, honoring that.
Well, it's beautiful. Were you able in the years of competitive bodybuilding, were you ever to influence any of your competitors just when they saw that you were the winner on a plant-based diet? Were they plant curious?
Yeah, I answered that question on stage recently, because it's kind of fun when you're in a position where you are successful. And for those that don't know about bodybuilding, people eat 6 chicken breasts a day. I mean, it's basically they just eat chicken all day long, or steak, fish for some, whatever the case is. It's usually meat, rice, broccoli, and supplements. Like, that's what it's a very boring diet. Those are 4 things bodybuilders eat. And
I'm surprised they eat rice. I mean, I would, that's good. At least they're eating one healthy thing, right?
Yeah, they like brown rice. They like egg whites a lot. They like fish. They like chicken. They like whey protein.
But when you say they like it, I know they like it for what they think it does for them. But do you think they even like their diet? I mean, that sounds like a horrible diet.
Actually, the best bodybuilder in the world, he lived somewhat near me when I lived in Colorado just a month or two ago. He's won the Mr. Olympia 6 times in a row. He eats just coolers full of fish, but he doesn't even like it. It's just something
that's just so gross.
He does, because he's 280 pounds with 3% body fat, and he wins what Arnold won, the Mr. Olympia. He's won that 6 years in a row now, so that's what he does. So I think 6 years in a row. But anyway, remind me of where we were going.
Well, so were you ever able to influence these guys?
Sorry.
Or gals? Yeah.
I got off on the coolers of fish.
Yeah, that's just so gross. But
yes. Yeah. So when I won competitions, typically they give you the microphone to say a few things on stage, and so I'm able to address those types of topics about being vegan and those areas of interest. I'm able to address that, and also there's this conversation backstage often, like, wow. Like, I lost to this guy and he doesn't even eat meat or any animal products. Like, I want to know more. That's what it was like in the early days. Now I think the awareness is so much higher. There are plenty of bodybuilders and people in all areas of sports and really in all areas of culture and life who are familiar now with building muscle on a plant-based diet, and they're familiar with vegan athletes. But back then, I think I did have an impact. I competed for almost 10 years. Including at the 2006 Natural Bodybuilding World Championships in California. I competed all throughout Oregon, Washington, California, Arizona, around the West. And that spanned a nearly 10-year career of being a competitive bodybuilder. So I had not only that, but I was also featured in the mainstream muscle magazines like Flex Magazine. I was featured in 2001, 2002, 2003. And Natural Bodybuilding Magazine. And even, what's really funny, like that ad you just showed that had my first book, Vegan Bodybuilding, one of the major hardcore magazines reviewed it very positively. And I didn't even know. I was just at a grocery store. And I looked at, because I used to be a big fan of these muscle magazines myself, and I looked at Iron Man magazine, and there was a review of my book in there. And I didn't even know they saw it or how they found it. I did send a few copies out to mainstream muscle people and publications, but I didn't know who received it, who read it, who gave it a shot. And so there I was with a positive review in a major muscle magazine for my vegan bodybuilding book. So clearly there was some sort of influence early on, but now, like I said, there's guys, twice my size, essentially. I mean, muscles that are just way bigger, and they've won more championships. Like Torrey Washington is vegetarian since birth, vegan since '98, so almost 20 years vegan for him, and he's won 6, 7, or 8 competitions, where I only won 2. I came in second place 4 times, but I only won twice. My friend Will, who lives down the street, Will Tucker, has won.
I just saw him. He just spoke in L.A.
Yeah. We were at the gym together last night. He was posing in some of these no meat, no problem shirts for me last night. He's won 4 bodybuilding competitions as a vegan. So, and he's a great guy too. So, so collectively, a lot of us have had some sort of positive influence on the mainstream bodybuilding culture.
That's so great. I thank you all.
We have more of it, so people can get this idea that you don't need the animal products, and you certainly don't need all those supplements, and just trust in real food to provide nutrition. And that's why I'm documenting my stuff, and some days are better than others.
We need to get all of you guys in one place and like line you up and say, see, you know. You mentioned you met Arnold. I heard he might be vegan now. Is that true, that Arnold Schwarzenegger was going on a plant-based diet, or is that just not true?
Yeah, it was interesting. What's funny, and I played no role in this, but I interviewed James Cameron years ago. I somehow got invited to his Earth Day red carpet party at the JW Marriott in downtown LA, and I was on the red carpet interviewing people. That's where I first met John Sally. This was many years ago. Another
athlete, by the way, who's vegan.
Yeah, great guy too. And I interviewed James Cameron about his lifestyle, and back then he wasn't vegan. He was talking about eggs on the farm and all these different things. Later, James Cameron would be influenced by Forks Over Knives. So here we are. Hello. So one of the most successful movie directors in history was influenced by Forks Over Knives, and he has a lot of celebrity friends, of course, and Arnold was one of his friends. I happened to see Arnold at the gym in Venice, California, talked to him for a little bit. I had on my #vegan t-shirt. We posed for a photo, which was his suggestion, by the way, not even mine. You know, he suggested we get a photo. And months later, he's advocating for and promoting a plant-based diet to help the environment. Now, I don't know that Arnold has specific aspirations to become totally plant-based, and certainly not a vegan, an animal rights activist, but he is absolutely spreading the word. There's even commercials. There's PSAs. You probably see them online with James Cameron, where they're encouraging people to ditch meat and eat plants for the environment.
Yeah.
So I really credit that to Forks Over Knives and then James Cameron's influence on Arnold. But the fact that Arnold has had photos with me a number of times over the years, at least 3 different times that I can think of, we've been in photos together, and the fact that he knows of other vegan and vegetarian bodybuilders and knows that they've been successful and talks about it on camera. He even says, I know that vegans can put on muscle. I know about successful vegan bodybuilders. He knows about it. I think that's important, because he is still what we will, because of the role he played, we will forever consider him as the person who put bodybuilding on the map.
Yeah.
He's that guy. And so he has an incredible amount of influence. And I think if Arnold were to come out and say, hey, you don't need all that other supplement stuff either, that could really speak to a lot of young bodybuilders too. Even his quote, that's kind of, I think, taken out of context, but it's from Pumping Iron 1975 film, where he says milk is for babies.
Yeah.
And then he follows it by saying something like beer is for men.
Yeah.
But that quote, milk is for babies, that has resonated with some people who say, hey, Arnold says don't drink milk, I'm not going to either.
Yeah.
So whatever context they take that in, he's had an influence, and I think he will continue to have an influence encouraging people to become more plant-based for the environment.
Well, that's great. When you were that period, when you were like a junk food vegan, putting peanut butter in your spaghetti, was that helping you to gain weight at all? Even though it probably wasn't helping you build muscle as much, was that putting any extra weight on your 120 pound frame? Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely worked. I mean, and that's what's interesting. I know you talk a lot about calorie density and nutrient density. That's one of the thesis of your presentations. Your style is to really teach people and educate people about calorie density. I like to do a lot of the same. I learned a lot from Dr. Campbell and his course, and and forks over knives, and that's an important message. And the reason I mention that is because back when I was the definition of junk food, vegan, athlete, I documented things way back then. I was consuming about 5,000 calories a day. And this is just true. I documented it.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it helped me build a lot of muscle and a lot of, I added muscle and fat because I was probably expending 3,000, 3,200 calories a day. I have a surplus of almost 2,000 calories. You bet. I mean, I put on 28 pounds in 10 months.
Wow.
Muscle and fat. Of course, I was training like crazy too. So naturally, I'm going to build some muscle. But let me tell you, right now, last week, my average caloric intake was 2,983 per day. So 2,000. So basically 3,000. So 2,000 calories short of what I was eating before.
Mm-hmm.
The nutrient density is higher. And yes, maybe I didn't eat a whole lot of leafy greens, but you heard the rest of the list was full of fruits. Of mangoes and blueberries and raspberries and bananas and oranges and potatoes and rice and beans and avocado and all of that. Where before it was all bread and processed.
You have a great diet. I was just yanking your chain. I was just teasing you about the vegetables.
No, I know, but I'm trying to be open and honest about that too. Where before I was eating 5,000 calories, it produced a result of muscle and fat gain. But I can achieve the same, if not better, outcome on almost half the calories. And that's what's important, because imagine the cost of those extra 2,000 calories per day, map that onto a week, a month, a year. I mean, what is that? That's what, 700,000, is it, extra calories over the course of a year, almost 1 million extra calories. Imagine the actual fiscal cost of that and the cost of trying to digest all of that, the stomach issues in digesting all that food, especially all that processed food. And so the point I try to make now, and I really try to hit home in Shred It, is that you can eat a lot less, but still meet your muscle building, muscle recovery, and micronutrient goals by eating real food.
Absolutely.
That's the message I try to hit home these days.
It's a great one. A lot of people say, well, should I eat before I work out? And when I heard you lecture a few times, you said no. And I agree with you, because first of all, I don't even know how you can eat and then exercise. But second of all, don't you burn fat better if you exercise on an empty stomach?
Yeah, there have been numerous studies, and it's fairly common. It's a common understanding to realize that doing cardiovascular exercise, fat burning, aerobic exercise, running, rowing, cycling, that type of stuff, is best to do on an empty stomach. And so I want to make sure I quantify this and explain it properly and thoroughly. A lot of it depends on objective. That's a big key, okay? So if your objective is fat burning, then your goal should be to do cardiovascular training on an empty stomach. And the reason for that is because you won't have recently consumed calories, recently consumed carbohydrates stored as glycogen to have to burn through. Let's say you wake up after 8 hours of sleep or so, get yourself ready, and you have some glycogen stored, of course, but you burn through that relatively quickly, and then the rest of your workout is calling upon fat as fuel. So that is a really effective way. That's why many of these days during my November project, I wake up, brush my teeth, drink some water, and go hiking, hop on the Stairmaster, something along those lines. I want to get into an effective fat burning zone. I'm sweating, dripping all over the Stairmaster. On an empty stomach, there's no recently consumed calories. My body's got to pull that energy somewhere. It's going to pull some fat and burn that fat. I did that as a competitive bodybuilder and got super shredded, 6, 8-pack abs, whatever the case is, it's designed to work. So that's for fat burning, okay? Now, if you want to have a really strong, powerful weight training workout, let's say you're doing squats and bench press and bent over rows and lifting hundreds of pounds, it's a good idea to eat beforehand to be nourished and be fueled and have that energy, because now you have all these extra calories, all this extra carbohydrate fuel from carbohydrates and fats, and you can use that to power through your workout. And once you burn through that, that is a great time to do some cardiovascular workout at the end of your workout. So once you weight train and you burn through those recently consumed calories and glycogen stores, now get on the rowing machine, now get on the Stairmaster, now get on the stationary bike, now go for a hike, go for a run. And if you don't have time for all of that, I explain all these scenarios in my book too. If you don't have time for a morning workout plus a weight training workout later on in the day, or you don't have time for a weight training workout for an hour, followed by 25 minutes of fat burning cardio, following that workout, you can do what's called high intensity training or high intensity interval training, where just imagine the difference between, I don't know, just kind of jogging in place and jump roping or something. One is much more intense than the other. You could be doing a slow walk on a treadmill or vigorously climb a mountain or climb hill or climb stairs. One is going to burn way more calories than the other. Basic scenario is jogging versus sprinting, something like that. So you can accelerate your calorie burning in a short amount of time. And so you could burn twice as many calories. And so that can also help you burn through those glycogen stores faster. Now, and then one other scenario is that, again, you have to understand what your objective is. So like I said, it's very important to note that if you're just trying to burn fat, then okay, go do your fasted cardio in the morning. But if you're training for a marathon, you need to eat something beforehand. You can't put yourself out there running for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours and then, faint or be nutrition deprived and collapse or bonk, as they call it in running, where you kind of hit the wall because there's no fuel left. There's just nothing left. Guys like Scott Jurek and Rich Roll and Brendan Brazier, they all know this very well. You have to take bananas and dates and other fruit with you or other foods with you, rice balls, whatever the case is, to refuel. So it's very, very different as far as when you eat and when you exercise based on what your true objective is. So hopefully that makes sense. And in summary, fat burning, it's great, best to do it fasted. You're going to do weight training, eat beforehand. And if you're training for performance, endurance, or strength training, it's good to be fueled before and even often during.
And I'm sure some of this is in your book, what you're talking about, because it's been about, I'll be honest, it's been a year since I read it, but I do, now that you're saying it, it reads, I can't get that image of that guy just eating buckets of fish out of my head. It's just like making me sick. It's like if I was, not that I would ever eat animal protein, but it's like, that would probably be it's gross. So
I apologize for putting that message.
Yeah, it's just like, poor guy, just for fun. Like if somebody said, okay, Robert, for 30 days, you're only allowed one food and one exercise. What would you pick as your favorite food and your favorite exercise? Just if you could only, just for fun.
Yeah. Actually, I think about that sometimes. I think about
sweet potatoes and spinning.
Yeah. No. And for me, it's a bit surprising. For me, it might be blueberries.
Wow.
I consider them not only one of the best tasting, but also I find them to be fairly dense. I can get full eating a bunch of blueberries, like more so than raspberries or strawberries that are a little more watery.
Yeah.
Blueberries. So, I'm tempted to say this guy, bananas are really easy because it's very filling.
Yeah.
It's nourishing and has a good amount of calories. I'm also tempted to say potatoes, but I am going to say, because I don't get tired of blueberries ever, really.
You might after 30 days of nothing else.
Maybe, and I'll be in the bathroom a lot.
Yeah.
I've tried, it's if you want to go on a cleanse, just eat a lot of blueberries.
Go on the blueberries. That's the new diet, the Robert Cheeke blueberry diet. Yeah.
Yeah, trust me, I know it well. Especially when they're in season, and I come from Oregon where they grow in plentiful amounts. But I would probably say something like blueberries or potatoes, and then favorite, just one exercise to do. Lately, I would say hiking.
Yeah.
I go hiking sometimes 2-3 hours a day, and I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, and it's just a great fat burning workout, it's a total body workout.
Yep. And you can eat blueberries while you're hiking,
Right. Yeah. See, it's serendipitous like that. Yeah. And if I'm talking about a weight training exercise, you can't really do the same one every day, or at least with a certain level of exertion or intensity. You just can't. Your body will it can't handle it. You can do light. You can do push-ups every day. You can do some light.
I've never done a push-up. That's my goal. One day.
But if you do a heavy bench press every day, you're just your muscles can't take it anymore. They need that recovery time. So that's why I say if I had to do something every day, it would be a more of a total body exercise. It's very enjoyable in the outdoors. Yeah. I would pick hiking and blueberries, and you're right, I can do it at the same time.
I will join you, but I'll be bringing my sweet potatoes if you don't mind. So last question, you mentioned how your sister inspired you to go vegan at an early age of 15. Arnold Schwarzenegger might have inspired you a little bit about the bodybuilding. Dr. Campbell inspired you to change from a more processed vegan diet to a whole vegan diet. But if I had to say who is the one person in your life, and it doesn't have to be a vegan person, but who has inspired you the most?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I have lots of different answers at different times. I often say my sister. That, I mean, just you can't even measure that, the impact that she's had. So I say my sister oftentimes when I answer that question. I say some high school teachers who, when I struggled, they helped me get back on track. When I struggled academically, I struggled to adjust to high school. I was, at risk of not succeeding. I had a couple of high school teachers and coaches who were absolutely instrumental in helping me reinvent myself and succeed in academics and athletics. But also, strangely, I will say someone that's probably very unexpected. And I've said this many times. It's fairly well documented, but a lot of people may not know. For me, one of the most influential people in my life was Steve Prefontaine. Oh. He was America's greatest running legend, who actually died before I was born. But he was from Oregon like me, and he just had this work ethic and drive and passion and all that stuff that really, kind of resonated with me. And so I used to apply that passion to not only athletics, but academics and in book writing and in business and all these different aspects. So I would say probably at the end of the day, someone who died before I was born, even coming from the same region, it really inspired me. And that's what really got me into distance running. And I was able to compete against Olympic athletes in the early days, and I could run really fast, a mile in under 5 minutes. I ran in college. He really inspired just that strong belief in self, I guess. So that's what I would say. Well,
that's a great answer. And I want to thank you and all the other vegan athletes out there for all the people that you're inspiring. And I really appreciate your work. And congratulations on your engagement and all your success. And if you guys would like to find out more about Robert, what he's doing, his blog, what he's eating, what he's lifting, what he's sleeping, you can go to his website, Robert Cheeke. It's spelled CHEEKE.net. You can go to his website, veganbodybuilding.com. You can order his books or his wonderful clothing like the shirt he's wearing, and using the AJ or the UWL 20, you can get 20% off. I've got 3 of his clothing items. And so thank you. It's just been this hour, more than an hour went by so quickly. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I hope that you'll come by for dinner with Karen if you're ever in town. You guys breeze in and out, but you're always welcome here. And I'd be happy to feed you with nothing but blueberries.
Well, thank you, Chef AJ, and thanks for having me on.
It's been a pleasure.
Such a great supporter. You've had me on your show.
Oh, well, you're great. And you're going to be on the cruise next year, right? I'm skipping next year, but there's another great... Robert is no longer available, unfortunately, but boy, there's some other of you guys... I don't want to say his name, but you know who I mean, the guy from Texas that I'm always teasing. There's some really good-looking other vegan athletes to take that cruise that are still single. So I really encourage you to go to holisticholidayatsea.org, and you can meet Robert on the sail next year with Karen. And I love how all you cool guys are always on the top deck working out. That's like where all the cool kids are. And they're taking the steps.
Yeah, exactly. We just got to lead by example and do the stuff that will hopefully be noticed by other people and resonate. And just like that stair climbing thing resonated with you. I think that's one of the reasons why we do.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Robert, and thanks all of you guys for watching another episode of Healthy Living. I'm Chef AJ, and I make healthy taste delicious. Take care.